Good evening, friends, and welcome to another edition of Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace. We are retired New York City police detectives and 9/11 World Trade Center first responders. If you like all things true crime related from the police detective's perspective, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, so you'll get all things DutyRon and this guy right over here, Ed Wallace, when we go live or upload another video. Tonight, we're going to talk about the murder of Robert Brooks inside Marcy Correctional Facility in Oneida County, upstate New York. Why have these 13 correctional officers, including 2 sergeants and 1 nurse, why have they not been carted in, hog-tied, handcuffed, and brought in to face charges of murder of Mr. Robert Brooks? Ed, how you doing tonight? We got a lot to unpack. I am mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore. We got to do a live stream and talk about this. When I spoke about it last week, this was just 7 days ago. Last Saturday, we were live, Saturday night. And I said in the next couple of days, these arrests will come down. The Attorney General will, the wheels of justice will be turning and people will be paying the price. Nothing's happened, Ed. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm pretty shocked by all of this. Honestly, I thought for sure there would have been a grand jury impaneled and they would have been arrested by now. I don't understand what the hell is going on. It's been so many weeks now. Okay, it's ridiculous. You know, the evidence is clearly there. All right, on the video, so it's self-incriminating. Then you have, you know, I know they're going to be interviewing all of these people, and now the feds are involved. And you know, if this was in New York City, this would be a whole different story.
Yeah, and I know for sure if it was a civilian that murdered somebody on video camera, or if it was a police officer with body cam footage in the street, they would have been arrested by now. This incident took place on December 9th, 2024. They released the body cam footage last Friday. I believe it was December 30th. They released the body cam footage on December 30th on Friday. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was December 30th or yeah, December 30th. What more do you need? Now, Tish James, the Attorney General, recused herself from this case. She went on Friday, and we heard her talking about we are going to bring justice for this family, for the Brooks family. And now we hear her talk about there's a conflict. There's a potential conflict. Why, Ed? And before I play this, why do you not dot your I's and cross your T's when you have the largest case of criminality in the New York City Department of Corrections history, because it's on camera?
New York State.
Yeah, New York State Corrections history. Why that you have it on camera? You know, we know that this stuff has been going on for a long time. Let's not be fooled here. We know that there's been complaints, but they have video evidence of 13 correction officers murdering an inmate, beating him to death, and nothing.
Well, forget her as the Attorney General for the state of New York. Why isn't the prosecutor, the elected prosecutor of that county, why haven't they done something independent?
Yeah.
Where's their grand jury? Where, you know, I mean, this murder occurred in that jurisdiction.
Yeah. It's an outrage. No matter what Robert Brooks was incarcerated for, no matter what he did, and people talk about the past, nothing anybody does deserves. There's no death penalty in New York State, first and foremost. Nobody goes into prison to be murdered by the very officers who are empowered and employed to keep safety and security within the facility. Let's listen to what Tish James said just the other day.
Hello, and Happy New Year. Earlier today, after much consideration, research, and review, my office decided to recuse itself from the investigation of the correction officers involved in the events preceding the death of Mr. Robert Brooks at Marcy Correctional Facility in Oneida County. This decision is not one that was made lightly, but we believe this is the best course of action to protect the integrity of the investigation and to ensure accountability and justice for Mr. Brooks, his family, friends, loved ones, and for all New Yorkers. My office's Division of State Counsel by law represents state agencies in legal matters, including the Department of Corrections and correction officers. My Office of Special Investigation investigates matters where an officer of the law may have caused the death of a civilian. As part of our Office of Special Investigation cases, we do internal conflicts checks. After obtaining video and identifying the officers involved in the incident, we conducted this standard check. 4 of the correction officers under investigation in the Robert Brooks matter are currently defendants in other matters and are being represented by lawyers in the Office of the Attorney General. While we are confident in the firewalls set up between the Division of State Counsel and the Office of Special Investigation, even the possibility or mere appearance of a conflict could tie up a potential prosecution in lengthy legal challenges, or get a potential prosecution outright dismissed. And I will not allow justice to be delayed or denied because of a conflict. Earlier today, we filed papers in Onondaga County Supreme Court under County Law Section 701 to appoint Onondaga County District Attorney William J. Fitzpatrick as a special prosecutor in this matter. When a prosecutor is unable to take a case, County Law Section 701 allows for the appointment of a district attorney in the same judicial department. District Attorney Fitzpatrick has served Onondaga County for over 30 years. His office is well-resourced to handle this complex and large investigation, and I thank him for taking on this case. Additionally, my office's Division of State Counsel will not represent the Department of Correction and or its officers in this investigation. Again, this decision was made with the utmost respect for the integrity of this investigation, and we will ensure that there will not be any delays. My Office of Special Investigation will hand over all records to the District Attorney's Office immediately. My office has spoken with representatives of Mr. Brooks's family to explain this decision. And I want to take this opportunity again to express my sincerest condolences to them during this unimaginable, difficult time. It is critically important that justice is served. And this decision ensures that it will be.
Mixed messages, Ed. Why in God's name did her office not do their due diligence and see that 4, I made a mistake by saying 3 out of the 13, 4 of the 13 officers in that Goon squad that's known to be heavy-handed in Marcy Correctional and in Mohawk. Prisoners in both locations are well aware of these guys, and the Attorney General's office knows them. But if they are fired, Ed, and severed from service, they don't get representation from them. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Right. I get that, the no indemnification part. But the process was for the other incidents, they're getting representation. But I mean, we're almost going on a month now, and she's had these videos and this information about this incident, this murder that took place in a state correctional facility by state correctional officers for so long now. Why now, just now, are you just appointing a special prosecutor? This should have been done a long time ago.
Yeah.
I mean,
100%.
Why the dragging of the feet?
Yeah. And Ed, this was 2 days ago. We have on video, and I keep saying it, we have live on video, 13 officers, and I saw 2 nurses in that location. They're always just saying 1. So in my eyes, I see 13 correctional officers and 2 nurses. We saw one with the dark pullover and then one with the lighter color hooded sweatshirt. Why are we not seeing charges? This is, again, mixed messages to the public, less confidence in all of the systems that are in place. Because if it was me or you or anybody else, you would have been dragged in, locked up, taken out of your house, and taken into central booking and put in the county jail with no bail. Murder is murder, Ed.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And there's no clearer evidence than these videos of what transpired.
Yeah. It's just so gosh darn frustrating. And now I have to go back to 4 days because I want to show a video about the autopsy results. Of course, they didn't come up with an official cause and manner of death, but they kind of skated around. And I took about 20 minutes before we went live to search for the official medical examiner's findings. There's nothing. Has anybody in the chat been able to ascertain the full medical examiner's report? I'm going to play this clip from 2 days ago, and it's going to make your head spin even more. So let's take a listen.
Continuing coverage now of the death investigation into Greece native and former inmate Robert Brooks. In court paperwork referencing the autopsy of Brooks, which is not yet available in its entirety, there are details about his multiple injuries from an attack by more than a dozen Marcy Correctional Facility correction officers and staff. Isabel Garcia breaks down what that paperwork tells us.
Yes, the paperwork is called an Emergency Risk Protection Order, which was filed by New York State Police against one of the corrections officers accused in Robert Brooks's assault. The details of the autopsy.
Ed, is your head spinning right now? The news said the results of the autopsy report. She's talking about orders of protection to remove firearms from one of these correction officers. Why are they even talking about that? I don't know.
Well, yeah, without a doubt. I mean, they start off with the headline that grab you and say, we're going to talk about this, and they talk about something totally different. But why just one officer? Why aren't you taking the guns away from all of the officers that participated?
All 13 of those officers should have their weapons taken immediately. Look, Ed, I got to put us back on for this because I have seen officers in my own command get arrested at roll call for domestic violence. Argument with the wife, gets handsy with the wife, smacks, or whatever the case may be. Internal affairs of the NYPD would come right to the precinct for a domestic violence assault. And I'm not downplaying domestic violence because it's very serious. But I have seen only once in my career an officer, they removed his gun belt right in the roll call room, in the muster room, and told him, we're going to escort you down to your locker, get into civilian clothes. You're going to central booking. Amazing.
Yeah.
Here, let's listen.
Were used as supporting evidence in the accused in Robert Brooks's assault. The details of the autopsy were used as supporting evidence in the application. This due to concern the individual, in this case David Kingsley, may harm himself or another. He was allegedly part of a group of a total of 14 individuals engaged in an assault on Robert Brooks on December 9th at the infirmary at Marcy Correctional. Brooks died at a Utica hospital the next day. In the protection application, it is noted the autopsy of Brooks was conducted at the Onondaga Medical Examiner's office on December 11th. It was determined Brooks suffered multiple bruises on his face and arms and legs, a fractured nasal bone, multiple soft tissue bleeding in his neck on both the left and right sides, as well as bleeding in the genitalia area. Now, the medical examiner also reported concerns for asphyxia, this due to compression of the neck, as well as Brooks's death due to actions of another. It also makes note the final cause and manner of death are still pending at this time.
Ron, back that up. Back that up.
I want you to talk about this.
All right.
You want to go right to the findings?
The
Yes.
genitalia
All right, give me a second.
area. Now,
Right
this
there. No, leave it right
face
there.
and arms and legs,
Hold on.
a fracture. The Onondaga Medical
Here's where it starts.
Yeah.
So do you want me to fast forward it
No, no, no. Just let it play, and I'll tell you when to stop.
Examiner's office on December 11th. It was determined Brooks suffered multiple bruises on his face and arms and legs, a fractured nasal bone, multiple soft tissue bleeding in his neck on both the left and right sides, as well as bleeding in the genitalia area. Now, the medical examiner also reported concerns for asphyxia, this due to compression of the neck, as well as Brooks's death due to actions of another. It
Stop.
also
When they're playing games here, this medical examiner is playing games here. When they declare that the death is at the hands of another, that is the definition for the medical legal term homicide used in cause and manner of death. Okay, so they're saying at the end, if you continue with that, that they haven't declared a cause and manner. Okay, well, they have. That statement, death at the hands of another, is the definition of homicide.
Yeah, and it should have read it should have said death at the hands of others, plural, because it was more than one. I'll let the rest of this play.
as well as bleeding in the genitalia area.
And you know what? All of these injuries that are explained by the medical examiner, we watched the big, bald correction officer extend his leg into his groin area numerous times. And I don't have to play this video over again. We've all been, we've all been exposed to it. I think we all have seen the video here. The compressions of the neck, again, the bleeding of the genitalia, the compressions of the neck. He had a fractured nasal bone. That means they broke his nose, folks. This was beyond brutal, and we got to see it on video. And why in the F are these correction officers and civilian staff not arrested? It's beyond me. December 9th, 2024. Fast forward to today, January 4th, 2025, folks. But the Attorney General gave us a live viewing of this video last Friday. It's now 8 days later, and we're still sitting here waiting. Think about his family. Think about the people who loved him. And think about the community. Think about the other inmates in these facilities. How afraid are they, and how afraid for their lives they are? This is beyond sick. Thank you to everybody in the chat, and thank you to the moderators.
Now, the medical examiner also reported concerns for asphyxia, this due to compression of the neck, as well as Brooks's death due to actions of another. It also makes note the final cause and manner of death are still pending at this time. Now, once again, this information was part of an application for extreme risk protection for one of the corrections officers, David Kingsley, named to be involved in the assault. Meantime, family of Robert Brooks held a vigil last night in Rochester with his surviving son, Robert Brooks Jr., saying the family is hopeful his death was not in vain and will be a, quote, catalyst for change.
It's a shame. It's a goddamn shame that in this day and age, when we have this type of evidence, that there's no action. And there better be a pretty damn good reason why they didn't do this. And I don't think we'll ever get the answers why it wasn't swift justice. Everybody's expecting. I even said on the live stream last Saturday night, was saying I bet my pension, so I've lost it. I don't have a pension anymore. I said by Monday or Tuesday before the new year, they're going to lock these guys up, because I was that confident that with what I saw with my own eyes as a retired detective, as someone who has investigated cases, that was more than enough for them to make a summary arrest.
When you're going to indict somebody for a murder like this, the why of it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We don't need to know why, or we don't need to care about why it happened to indict them for murder. Okay. We saw what they did.
Yeah.
We saw what they did from the point they dragged him in cuffs and shackled on his ankles, the way they brought him into the infirmary, and then what transpired in the infirmary. Okay. Then they rush him to off the correctional facility to a hospital, and he's dead.
Yeah.
Okay. What more do you need? I'm sorry. I've seen people indicted with less.
Yeah. And the crazy part about it is everybody in the chat has their own individual stories. Because we did this, we covered this case and did the story. I have had multiple family members, mothers, sisters, brothers, aunts, uncles, you name it. I've had them in my inbox talking to me about their loved ones being tortured inside New York State correctional facilities, talking about inhumane conditions and violence. And here's a case that was just profiled 2 days ago on a local station up there of another individual who was beaten in 2020, beaten to the point where he received numerous stitches in the head and permanent injuries from an assault at one of these facilities in this area. So let's take a listen to this.
His face, arms, legs, and cuts all over his face, arms, legs. Those are just some of the listed injuries on Robert Brooks' autopsy report. Marcy Correctional Facility officers beat the grease man on December 9th. A court filing shows the medical examiner said his preliminary cause of death was asphyxia due to compression of the neck. The state is firing the 13 corrections officers and a nurse involved. The criminal investigation into their actions continues. News 10 NBC investigative reporter Jennifer Lukey learned other inmates are suing Marcy Correctional Facility and some of the very same corrections officers for abuse.
This man says he suffered a similar beating at the hands of corrections officers, and these pictures taken in the exact same infirmary where Robert Brooks.
Okay, I have another video queued up. This is the one from inside Marcy Correctional Ed and chat. I thought I had another one queued up, but this is an inmate that was assaulted in the very same room. What we're seeing back here is that same infirmary table where Mr. Robert Brooks was murdered. And let's listen to this because this is shocking. And when you hear about how long ago this happened, how was it able to continue all of these years? I feel the governor should be fired, should be removed because she failed. And so did the previous governor, and so did the governor before him. They've all failed in the state of New York. And I'm embarrassed to say that I'm a resident of this state.
Was beaten.
Adam Bauer had less than a year left on his sentence for a non-violent drug charge when he says corrections officers attacked him in a bathroom at Marcy.
He was kicked and punched repeatedly. He sustained serious injuries. He had to have approximately 20 stitches to the top of his head. He was taken to the outside hospital.
The head injury, he says, caused by a metal clasp on a clipboard that was slammed over his head.
Some officers at Marcy seem to have the impression that they can engage in brutality against incarcerated people without consequence. Mr. Bauer, my client, thought that he was going to die the day that he was assaulted by officers back in 2020. He feared for his life.
When he got out of prison, Adam Bauer filed a lawsuit against the officers and the facility. That suit is about to go to trial. One of the COs named in it is Nicholas Anzalone, also seen in the Brooks beating video.
So the question for me is more, why did docs accept this for so long? And
just for those of you who are listening out of the country, out of the state, or maybe not familiar with the terminology, but she's saying the Department of Corrections when she's saying docs. So this attorney is asking why and how did the Department of Corrections, docs, allow this abuse to continue on? It's 2025. One of the correction officers seen beating to death, Mr. Robert Brooks, beat this former inmate in 2020. That's almost 5 years ago, people. It's an outlet.
And the civil suit has ensued, and the Letitia James office is representing and defending
this guy. This is
the corrections officer.
It's exactly what Tish James said in the video that we played in the beginning and in our opening. She makes reference to that her office is representing 4 of these 13 correction officers. He's one of them. It's just freaking mind-boggling. Mind-boggling.
So the question for me is more, why did docs accept this for so long? And why did it undervalue and dismiss the value of so many people's lives up until now? And what changes are needed to really address that in a true way, not in a flashy press moment?
On Monday, the governor visited Marcy. She spoke with inmates, named a new superintendent.
She should be ashamed of herself. Ed, I know that you agree with me on this. Shame on her, because if this body cam footage didn't come out, this woman, the New York State governor, Governor Kathy Hochul, her ass would not be anywhere near Marcy Correctional Facility, because she has let this go on, and other governors of the state of New York have allowed this type of behavior. They've harbored these people. They've allowed it to go on because families, my inbox is full of families begging and pleading, please talk about my loved one's case. Please talk about it, because nobody listens. They all sweep it under the rug. So shame on this woman for grandstanding in political fashion and showing up at that prison. She should have been banned from coming to that prison. She needs to be fired, in my opinion.
Do you remember Abu Ghraib?
Yes.
Okay. Only the guards got disciplined. Okay, got held responsible for what happened there. Meanwhile, all of the supervisors, all of the ranking officers knew what was going on, and they weren't disciplined. They didn't, like, the same thing is going on here.
Yeah.
Okay. You can't tell me that the upper echelon of this facility did not know what was going on and did not tolerate it, because this has been going on for years. They're just way too comfortable with this beatdown that we see here that caused the murder.
They talk about OSI, right? The Office of Special Investigations out of the Attorney General's office and so forth. They have been getting complaints, not since 2020, for decades. Ed, this stuff goes back into the 90s that I've researched and gone back. I'm sure it goes back before the 90s. And think about it. There was no cameras. There was no cell phones. There was nothing. So these types were able to run free within the walls of these facilities. Now, I want to be very clear. It's not every correction officer. We cannot throw that blanket statement out there, but there is way too many that have gone unchecked and have gone they needed to be arrested. They need to be taken off the job and locked up, because an assault is an assault. Last time I checked, if I beat the shit out of somebody and open them up, I'm getting charged with assault felony.
Listen, as a street cop, right? If someone came up to me and showed me a video like this, and there's the person right there who's on this video conducting this assault,
getting locked up,
he's going to be wearing my bracelets immediately. Okay.
Hands down.
And I'm locking him up for the assault. Now, I mean, why haven't they been arrested just for the assault?
Yeah.
You can't justify what transpired here. You can't say he bit me, he spit on me, he resisted or whatever. You don't continue to beat a man that's shankled at his ankles and cuffed behind his back. Okay?
It's despicable. It's despicable. Let's just listen to the rest of this. I got another video.
On Monday, the governor visited Marcy. She spoke with inmates, named a new superintendent, will fund an independent investigation, and is expediting money for more cameras.
Who do you think this is? This is her armed security here, and these guys back here. They're all there to secure her and keep her safe. This is part of her
police.
Yeah, her security detail provided by New York State Police.
Across the entire prison system.
I'm wondering what you think of what the state has done so far in regards to this situation.
Now that this has become public, there's suddenly a big outcry and an interest in fixing the problem, and I believe it's genuine, and I'm glad that it's happened. But to really fix the problem, we need to look deeper into who are the people running these prisons, who are the people working there, what is the culture that allowed this to occur.
Absolutely.
It's not just a question of rolling out some new policies on a day. It's a question of, will they be implemented? Will they be followed? Is there going to be cultural change that forces the end of these kinds of horrific acts?
Adam Bauer has been out of prison for several years now. He has a steady job. His son is getting ready to get married, and he is looking forward to the future.
So this guy made it out alive, but he did get the shit knocked out of him by these very same crew of officers. And it's again, it's despicable to hear that 4 or 5 years in the past, these same goons were able to coexist and be in this beatdown squad. How many inmates have they inflicted punishment on? I'm
But
sure
look,
too many.
several of those guys had over 20 years on the job, right? Now, I saw something I just want to highlight it here. Hold on, let me go back to it.
You want me to get it?
You know what I'm thinking? What I'm looking for?
This one?
Yes. Thank you, Ben. But Ben, yes, they were relieved, but did they go to Leavenworth like the other, like the non-commissioned officers that participated in the torture and beating of the prisoners? Did they go to prison? No, they didn't go to Leavenworth. Only the people involved went to Leavenworth. Meanwhile, those supervisors, they were relieved of command. They knew exactly what was going on.
There you go. Thank you, Ben, for being a channel member. Thank you for being a part of the community. And also thank you for always asking the questions and being involved in the continued conversation. All right. This is something interesting. And after this, I have an actual current inmate that is housed at Marcy Correctional that talks to one of our subscribers, one of our friends here within our community, and he lays out some of the conditions inside Marcy currently right now. And also he talks about Robert Brooks and what happened with Robert Brooks. This is inmate talk. This is amongst the population inside Marcy about what happened with Robert Brooks to get him transferred from Mohawk to Marcy. And this is his, I'm not able to verify whether this is in fact, because no authority has spoken on it, but this, I take this as some decent intel from somebody on the inside, and let's see what we hear about when they finally release it. But what I want to play for you is a former inmate who is now a state assemblyman. His name is Eddie Gibbs, and he gave an interview to Channel 11. I want you guys to hear this because it's worth the listen. So let's listen to this.
So you are the first state assemblyman that it was formally incarcerated. So you know what life is like behind bars. When you saw this video, though, did it come as a surprise to you?
First and foremost, thanks for having me this morning, Hazel. No, it wasn't a surprise. You know, it reawakened the dormant feelings I had when I served time, just going through that experience. But what I seen on footage, it was just horrific. We watched murder on footage. It was a modern day lynching to me. And just to see Robert Brooks' reaction on that table, helpless, defenseless. Thank God for the audio, because you can't hear the agony and the screams, which were reported throughout the facility. It was just horrible.
Yeah, I can hear the emotion in your voice, how hard this hit you.
I'm trying to contain it.
Yeah, it's awful.
It's horrible.
Some of the guards reportedly were sued before for cruelty.
Well, there's a systemic gang assault going on in these.
Did you catch that he stopped himself there, Ed? Did
Yes.
you listen to that?
Yes.
He said something about race, right?
Yeah. And then he slammed on the brakes.
He slammed it on quick because that's a typical politician where he's like, wait a minute, I'm on TV. I'm not supposed to say that. But that's another component that we'll get into.
Systemic race, a systemic gang assault going on in these facilities. Assemblymember Damar Meeks and I, we toured Mohawk and Marcy right after the event, and we found out a lot within those two facilities alone. There's a widespread of brutality in those both facilities, and it's why I'm calling for the closure. We have a unit there specifically that beats on incarcerated individuals. They call themselves the Hit Squad, and
and just pay attention to what this state assembly member has just said here. He said the Hit Squad. When I play next the actual inmate, he gave this interview today. He references the Hit Squad. So it's interesting. Katrina, thank you so much for being here from the UK. I know it is horrible. It's an outrage. We're all outraged by this. But thank you so much for the super chat from the UK. She said, I cannot watch this video again. We're not going to play it. It makes me cry. It's and sick. No damn updates, no arrests, monsters. We're all outraged. I think the whole world is watching, right, Ed?
Yes.
Yeah, we're all outraged, and we share in your outrage as well. Thank you for that.
The officers that you've seen in that beats on incarcerated individuals, they call themselves the Hit Squad. And 5 of the officers that you've seen in the footage are part of the Hit Squads. So the incarcerated individuals in Mohawk and Marcy knows, hey, let's avoid this squad right here if you know what's good for you.
Oh my! So they're known.
Oh, they're known. It's out there. It's known, and it's been quiet. Thank God that the camera, the body cams were recording. Although it was off, it was recording.
But if they're known, how is this allowed to happen, and how are they allowed to?
Look at the reporters, especially the female who's conducting this part of the interview. She's like, "What? Wait, Mr. State Assemblyman, why, if they're known, are they allowed to be employed by the State Department of Corrections?"
Yeah, but here's the crazy thing. He was a former inmate. He knows this is going on, and it's been going on for a long time. But now as an elected official, why hasn't he done something about this before this incident?
Yeah. Why hasn't anybody in an official capacity have stepped up, especially the New York State OSI, the Office of Special Investigators, right?
Mm-hmm.
They call them OSI. What in the F have they been doing? They should all be removed. They're not doing their job. They suck. They've allowed this to happen. And you're going to hear this state assemblyman say that the corrections commissioner, the guy who's in charge of all of New York State corrections, is doing a great job, that he was handed this mess. So this must be one of his friends, because when I heard him say this, it made my blood boil. But I wanted to hear what he had to say about conditions inside when he was incarcerated, and he goes on to talk about that here.
Remain employed there.
Well, we never had, although it was off, it was recording.
But if they're known, how is this allowed to happen, and how are they allowed to remain employed there?
Well, we never had body cam catch it before, right? So it was always swept under the rug. Disciplinary hearings never favor the incarcerated individuals. They automatically believe officers, staff. So, it's swept under the rug quite often. But Hazel, I am starting there are 42 prisons in the state of New York, 13 maximums, 26 mediums, and 3 minimums. I've been to every prison since elected, with the exception of the 3 I was in, Elmira, Mid-State, and Cayuga. But I'm going to revamp that. I'm going to visit every prison starting tomorrow and issue a report about every prison.
So Assemblyman Marcy and Mohawk facilities, why not clean house, get a better culture in there? Why push for closing down the facilities themselves rather than maybe the personnel?
That's a good question. So we thought about that when we first went, Assemblymember Damar Meeks and I. We thought it was just an isolated incident with 14 officers, few sergeants. Before we seen the footage, we just thought it was just isolated incident.
Yeah, and all he had to do is go to the New York State Office of Special Investigations, where the inmates lodged their complaints and their loved ones, and he would see the thousands of complaints that get swept under the rug and nothing, absolutely nothing gets done about it. If you're here in the chat and you're a family member of a loved one incarcerated in New York State, say something in the chat. Please speak up. Let everybody know what I'm saying is true and valid, because in these numerous communications that I have received, this is all the family members and loved ones talk about, is that OSI is a big freaking joke.
And then when we went into Marcy and into Mohawk and we talked to incarcerated individuals and staffers who were afraid to talk, we found out it's widespread. We have additional 43 officers' names and sergeants that we want to be brought up as well, in addition to the 14 who are being charged.
43 additional.
43 additional officers and sergeants.
Luigi Mangione is in a federal prison. He's not in a New York State prison.
Federal jail.
Yeah, it's a federal, well, they call it a prison, but it is a federal jail, and it's over in Brooklyn. So he is not in a New York State facility.
You know, one of the good things that Governor Hochul did was
wait a minute. Whoa. Did he just say one of the good things that Governor Hochul did?
He did, indeed.
Oh, that gets a...
Oh, hell no!
That gets a both. I hit both the buttons. I was so excited.
You know, one of the good things that Governor Hochul did was help secure the nominations for Commissioner Dan Monticello. He's a new commissioner, and I feel sorry for him. This fell on his plate. He's doing a great job.
How is the new commissioner doing a great job? Did he just start in December? Did this Amani guy that he just mentioned just start yesterday?
It's unbelievable. It's like that. I mean, the incompetency is unbelievable.
Governor Hochul's doing a great job. I didn't even see what party he's from, but I would have to guess with my eyes closed that he's from the Democratic side, because he's
absolutely 100%.
He's telling us that the governor, who's responsible for everything that happens in New York State, is doing a great job.
Yeah, and I feel sorry for him. This fellow, one of the good things that Governor Hochul did was help secure the nominations for Commissioner Dan Monticello. He's a new commissioner, and I feel sorry for him. This fell on his plate. He's doing a great job, much more to do. But we got to follow this up. And, you know, I think closing these two facilities is the right thing to do. It's written with officers who systematically abuse incarcerated.
He's doing a great job, just like the chief of the New Orleans Police Department.
Correction facilities, they're now enforcing that these cameras be on and working anytime there's this type of interaction. Do you think that that's enough?
No, it's not enough. And if you look at some of the footages from Officer Mitchell and the three other officers, you look at their body cams, you know, they knew that with one point or another, the camera was on. So you see a sergeant come and turn it off. You know, you hide it, you know. Who are you going to believe, an incarcerated individual or an officer or a lieutenant or a superintendent? You know, when you file these charges on incarcerated individuals, they have no help. You know, so we kind of side with the system.
This guy's not getting many friends here, and I would be curious to know what the families of incarcerated inmates in New York State think of this state assemblyman. I'm going to link his name in the description and his office. I mean, I just can't believe it. And he was incarcerated in New York State.
What else could be done, though, to safeguard? Because do you feel like anything would be foolproof?
Body cam is a big start.
Okay.
You know, again, you know, we have documented abuse in these systems. Let's talk about Corey Rise from one of the exonerated fives. Ruben Wills, he was incarcerated at
I think we heard enough of this, Ed.
Yeah.
God. I got to start listening to these all the way through. Let's go to the chat real quick because it's 45 minutes, and I'm going to play the interview with a incarcerated Marcy inmate. One of his family members is a part of this Crime Time with DutyRon community. I want to thank her for doing the interview and allowing us. She gave me permission to play this 5-minute or so video audio clip. For those of you in the chat that you guys are new to this live stream, to Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace, please let us know you're new and introduce yourself. We'd like to welcome you and thank you. We are at, 436,000 subscribers, Ed?
Yes, sir.
Thank you to everybody who's newly subscribed and joining. If you're new, let us know. And if you're returning, we'd like to say hello, city, state, country. Let's introduce each other. Ed, you have something to say?
No, this is just ridiculous. The mayor, the governor should lose her job. The head of corrections should lose their job. There needs to be arrest. And at a minimum, as a whole, you can lock all these people seen in the video for assault, those that assaulted, and those that stood by and watched and did nothing to stop it and did nothing to report it, because they're mandatory reporters. Right? Even the nurse is a mandatory reporter. All law enforcement were mandatory reporters of abuse. Okay. Those that witnessed this and did nothing to stop it. There are official misconduct charges. There's other charges that can be leveled against them. You don't need a grand jury to go lock these people up. Lock them up as a placeholder and then go to the grand jury for the murder charges.
I 110% agree. And if you agree, let us know in the chat by saying, yes. If you don't agree, say no. Listen, everybody's afforded due process. We're not just saying lock them up for nothing. We have a mountain of video evidence that this assault that led, and in my opinion, Ed, correct me if I'm wrong, Robert Brooks was deceased inside that infirmary before he was brought to Wynn Hospital, which is a local hospital. I believe that based on looking at him, and I have seen, I'm not proud to say this, but I have seen lots of people that are deceased in my police officer career, and so have you. You were in the crime scene, Ed. You've seen everything. He seemed unresponsive. The fake nurse, the kid that was grinning and smiling, he went over to try to take a pulse, and he made this stupid face and walked away. Ed, your thoughts on that?
No, it's just totally disgusting. This is a travesty of justice. Remember, justice delayed is justice denied.
There you go. Yeah, we say it all the time. We haven't said this recently, but we say it all the time. Bonnie, thank you for being here. She 110% agrees. Mom of Six is here. She agrees. Yes, agree. I mean, I don't see anybody saying no. And if you're saying no, you're not looking at this thing with a clear head, or with a clear mind. All right, I'm gonna play this again. This is a phone call from recently, very recently, and this is an inmate that is inside Marcy Correctional. The questions that were asked by their loved one, and we communicated back and forth, myself with this individual, and she asked the questions based on our conversation of I told her what I'm really looking to find out. And pay attention to what he says, because he talks about life inside, current day and now, in the now. This is not from a year ago, from 5 days ago. This is from now. This conversation was just had. So let's take a listen. How many of you guys in the chat want to hear this? I know that most of you will want to hear it, but if there's anybody that doesn't want to hear it, let us know, because there is some adult content, a lot of curse words in here. There's foul language being used in this conversation. If you'd like to hear it, just put a yes or a number 1 in the chat. If you don't want to hear it, put a 2, and I advise you. It's 5 minutes long. So for 5 minutes, we're going to listen to it, and this will give you a good insight of what's going on right now from a current inmate. So let's let it play.
You've seen how the rest of this guy that Yeah, this guy that I talked to on YouTube, he told him, I said, yeah, you're in that prison. And I had that was like right after I talked to you the first time. And I told him, I said, yeah, he was telling me that there's a couple more bad ones left in there.
At least 5 or 6. Shit, the one in the mess hall just now, I see them beat an inmate up right at the guard shack here when we go to the rec yard. Just body slam this kid for no reason. Just for like, I don't even know what it was, but he took him out the guard shack and just body slammed the kid, and the kid started fighting back and gave the CO a black eye. And shit was actually a good little karma for him.
That's shit.
And the CO was flailing on him like a girl windmilling. Shit was funny. Fucking hilarious. It was a little ass kid, like a little 120-pound dude, and this dude's like 250 pounds, big fat bastard, total piece of shit, just wailing on the kid, windmill style. It's crazy.
And there's nothing you guys could do about it in there. That's shit.
So again, I want to remind you, he's saying that he witnessed the CO beat up an inmate today. After all of this happened, Ed, that's what made, when I first listened to this, I had to listen to it a few times, but when I first heard this, I was like, wait a minute. These guys are still doing stupid shit like this and being heavy-handed? But as you can hear, and the inmate actually fought back. I'm sure he got into trouble for it, but it wasn't the trouble that he would have got into prior to this Robert Brooks incident. They probably put him in the hole. They probably, took some of his, some of his rights away from him, phone calls, communication, whatever they do. But they certainly didn't do anything excessive to him. But again, let's listen to this. This is 5 minutes.
I don't know. The only way you can do something is when they fuck up and kill somebody like that. And now it's on. Now everybody can voice their issues. But before, they don't care. You can call OSI from these phones. Just they got an Office of Special Investigation that investigates shit. They don't give a fuck. Nobody cares.
I'll tell you what, they are definitely investigating the shit out of this one. If it wasn't for those body cams, nothing would be getting done.
Yeah, and they really thought those body cams were off when they were blinking green. Little did they know that they're always recording, and when they're blinking green, it's just the videos on and not the audio. They thought they had to actually turn it on to get it to record.
Now, do all the COs have to wear those body cams?
Yeah, in this prison they do. Not in all of them. I know some prisons they don't have them yet, but this one, they have to have them here. The last time I was here, they would seriously brutalize you. They would just go by the windows, and if they seen people smoking outside the bathroom stalls, they would just rush in here and beat the shit out of everybody that's outside the bathroom stalls. Even if you weren't even not smoking. I was a non-smoker one time and almost got my ass kicked, but they knew who I was, so they didn't do anything.
No shit.
But I've seen them whoop everybody's ass. I've seen them take out 4 or 5 people at the same time. They call them the Goon Squad. They used to run in there like 6 of them.
There you go. The Goon Squad. And we heard that mentioned time and time again in these news interviews. That's because these complaints come from inmates inside, and that's what they refer to them as, the Goon Squad.
Deep and just start beating the shit out of everybody.
Wow, and they can get away with all that.
Smoking. I was a non-smoker one time and almost got my ass kicked, but they knew who I was, so they didn't do anything.
No shit.
But I've seen them whoop everybody's ass. I've seen them take out 4 or 5 people at the same time. They call them the Goon Squad. They used to run in there like 6 of them deep and just start beating the shit out of everybody.
Wow, and they can get away with all that.
Yeah, that's why they got cameras here. Because last shit. Last time I was 2021 when I was here, they used to do that. But now they got cameras this time. And then you can see what kind of shit they still try to pull behind people's backs.
So in 2021, there was no body cameras. And now, fast forward to today, they have them.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, if it wasn't for those body cams, nothing. I mean, what? Do you know what happened in Mohawk? Why he was sent there?
Yeah, he got in a fight. Well, that's where he was doing his time. He was doing 12 flat, and he already did 8 years out of his 12, and he was in Mohawk doing his time. He came down from a max, and he got in a fight with inmates there, and then they shipped him out because they were going to cut him up and shit, and then must have started problems with the COs either leaving there or on the way here, because the way they carried him in, they carried him in the front doors like that. So he was problems on the van, something.
Yeah.
So basically, Ed, what we're hearing from him is that he was having problems at Mohawk, and they shipped him out for his safety.
Yeah, well, he was having problems with the inmates in Mohawk. So, and what this gentleman is saying is that in the transport, something must have happened in the transports based upon the way the COs were carrying him into this facility.
Right. You could just tell by the demeanor and how they were rushing him in, how they were treating him right out of the gate. And I had said on the first, a week ago when we first did this live stream on this case, one day after the Attorney General released the body cam footage, I said there had to have been something that happened on the car ride from Mohawk, which is just like 15 minutes. It's close by, from that car ride or in that facility when they were getting them ready and into the car. As they got into Marcy, when they came in there, everybody's demeanor and their body language was they were all not having it, and something happened. So she asked the question that I wanted her to ask is, what happened to him to get transferred? And it looks like he had a problem and he didn't assault a correctional officer, according to this inmate. Again, this is unverified, but I do value inmates know what's going on. They know the heartbeat of the jail, prison. They know what's going on. He actually alludes to that he actually saw the body cam footage. So they must, have seen it on TV. He said he also had a radio where he was listening to about Letitia James being recused. And he goes on to explain that to his loved one. So let's listen to the rest of this.
What do you know what happened in Mohawk? Why he was sent there?
Yeah, he got in a fight. Well, that's where he was doing his time. He was doing 12 flat, and he already did 8 years out of his 12, and he was in Mohawk doing his time. He came down from a max, and he got in a fight with inmates there, and then they shipped him out because they were going to cut him up and shit, and then must have started problems with the COs either leaving there or on the way here, because the way they carried him in, they carried him in the front doors like that, so he was problems on the van, something.
Yeah.
So when he came here and he was having problems, they just brought him into the little room there, into the infirmary, and just you've seen how the rest of that played out. That's for damn sure.
That was awful.
You could see he was fine when they were carrying him in. He was bucking, bending his legs and pushing back, so he was bucking. He was definitely fine when he was here.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly wasn't fine 2 hours later.
God damn, that's fucking awful. Well, the rest of those COs that are in there that are not good, I bet they're dotting their I's and crossing their T's.
They're hoping to God that their buddies ain't telling them. Because you know damn well those guys are working with the feds right now. They're like, oh, if you give me a better deal, I'll tell you about something that this guy did or this guy did.
So, Ed, I want you to explain to the audience what he's alluding to here.
So he's talking about maybe the rookies in the COs there being interviewed by the feds and giving up, trying to make a deal with the feds to give up these other people so that, the feds will go after the low-hanging fruit, so to speak, to get to the bigger targets of their investigation. So that's what he's talking about here.
Yeah, they're going to interrogate the new rookie officers and say, hey, listen, we'll cut you a deal if you give us all of the information that you know about how these guys operate, because they know they're not going to get shit out of these old timers. They're just going to shut up and they're not going to say anything. But the newer guys, the youngers, the ones that don't have a lot of time on the job, and there are a few of them there, they will be more apt to crack. And that's what this inmate is alluding to here. I thought this was such a great interview, and I want to thank the people who are responsible for this. Unbelievable amount of insight that we're getting from an inmate's perspective inside Marcy Correctional.
Oh yeah, and they're hoping to God that their buddies ain't telling them, because you know damn well those guys are working with the feds right now. They're like, oh, if you give me a better deal, I'll tell you about something that this guy did or this guy did. Because these guys are all dirty. Well, not all of them. There's a good handful that are cool, actually. And then there's some that are not hands-on, but there's certainly 5 or 6 more that are hands-on, and they're scared to death because they don't say shit.
So I want to point out something here, and I have to keep stopping this because I thought that this was so important for us to hear. Is this inmate said that they're not all bad? He said they're not all hands-on. You again remember that term that we just heard about the hands-on? They're going to go hands-on. Supposedly, that's some of the spiel that is given to new inmates as they come in to this facility. I have a couple of videos saved. I'm not going to be able to get to them on this one, but that's supposedly, according to inmates with complaints, that they get that spiel from the correctional officers when they come into Marcy, that this is a facility, if you fuck up or if you do something wrong, we're going to go hands-on with you. And that's meaning basically not hands-on like moving you around. That means a beatdown. And he makes mention about the COs, and he says that some of them in here do their jobs right. And I tip my caps to the men and women that do the job the right way. It's just unfortunate that all of these bad people are the ones that make that job so much more difficult because nobody can trust the good ones. They don't know who's good and who's not. But you hear it right straight from this inmate. He talks about good ones. So let's listen in again.
With the feds right now, be like, oh, if you give me a better deal, I'll tell you about something that this guy did or this guy did. Because these guys are all dirty. Well, not all of them. There's a good handful that are cool, actually. And then there's some that are not hands-on. But there's certainly 5 or 6 more that are hands-on, and they're scared to death because they don't say shit. You can just see it in their faces. They want to say stuff. They love stuff they would usually talk shit about, but they don't say shit now.
Wow. Oh, yeah, because they're being investigating something terrible.
And their buddies might be telling on them for something that they've done in the past. So they're like, fuck, I got to just be an angel right now. You know, damn well those guys are trying to get out of their charges. Because you seen Letitia James had to step down because she represented them as like a criminal defense lawyer of some sort.
So there you have it. We ended it there, but it continued on. But you know, he basically was explaining that he was listening on the radio and he heard about Letitia James recusing herself. All right, I want to go to the chat. Hashtag Ed, hashtag DutyRon. Your questions as it pertains to these murderers at Marcy Correction, 13, and then a total of 14, including the civilian employee, the nurse. Why they have not been charged? So please. Hashtag Ed, hashtag DutyRon. I'd like to take the questions because we have been talking this whole time, and I want to get your thoughts and if anybody has any questions. So Mark says they should all be in jail already. No questions asked. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we're not in any way, shape, or form questioning that. We're actually outraged and just so angry that there's nothing done. Hashtag DutyRon or at DutyRon, as we all have said before, there are correctional officers out there who do their jobs the right way. However, a few bad apples, and I don't like that terminology, but I get it. A few bad ones make it difficult and puts the stain on all of them in the public eye. You know, we used to say it as cops too. You know,
it makes our life in law enforcement so difficult. It's such a fragile position that we're in with the public, and every little incident like this gets under the magnifying glass and just makes it even worse for us to make inroads with earning the trust of the public.
Yeah. Duchess, thank you for thanking us. We greatly appreciate it. Much appreciated. DutyRon from Ferris says, why is the prison not mandating body cameras on after this incident? The governor has. I have a video. I don't think I need to play it because I want to tell you, I listened to it myself. When she went, the little clip that we played, and it showed her going there, and we said, a little too late, lady. You're a little late to the game. She put in an executive order that mandates all correctional officers to activate their body cams anytime that they come into contact with an inmate. Hashtag Ron, coming from Nancy, what was Brooks in there for? He was in there for, initially he was charged with attempted murder. He stabbed his girlfriend 14 times, and then she survived. She did not die, but she survived his assault, and then they dropped the charges to assault first degree. He got sentenced. He went to, court. He took, I believe it was no trial. He took a plea deal of 12 years, and he was serving a sentence for assault first degree, 12 years. Thank you for that question, Nancy. Ed, do you see anything?
No, I see it all.
Yeah. That nurse needs to lose the license. Absolutely. 100%. 100%. Kitty KU, here's one for you, Ed, and me. Some want to know why he's incarcerated. We took care of that already. Tiffany Knox, absolute power. We know what happens there.
Absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Yeah. Joey Brooklyn is saying that's unfortunate. Super Squirrel says you're taking phone calls. We like to keep the shows to about an hour. Maybe on the next one we'll do it. But if you have a question, Super Squirrel, please put it in the chat.
See Super Squirrel and I'm Secret Squirrel.
There you go. I like that. Super Squirrel and then Secret Squirrel with Ed. Bonnie says, thank you for covering this, DutyRon and Ed. Can't see those wording.
Qualak.
Yes. Here, Wesley Robinson says, do you think it could be because the feds are involved and this might be a RICO charges? No. This is, as Ed said, and it's in the autopsy report. It's not the final autopsy report, but it's the preliminary report from 2 days ago that they read out on a newscast that we played here. It spells out death at the hands of another. And that spells out murder, folks. So it is what it is. Hold on. Sharon creates. I hope you're doing well. Happy New Year to everybody. DutyRon, how many would be left if they took out all the mess? Safety. How many would be left if they took all? I don't know how many. Again, I don't know how many correctional officers are employed at Marcy. I'm sure it's quite a few hundred. But they'd have to do a complete and total evaluation of ones that have these allegations against them or numerous allegations against them for being heavy-handed. And Susa says, and thank you for being a channel member, how come it's taken so long for any action? We asked the same question. Ed? Yeah.
This is the old head scratch.
Yeah, I'm scratching my head too. Sister Carol Ann Clark, thank you. When I hear this, I cringe. Absolutely. Bonnie, she meant to say Wallace at the end. Okay.
Okay.
Gotcha. I think we got it all. I'm just gonna look again. That nurse needs to lose the license. I agree. What's the public trust in law enforcement? 15%, says Zach. Again, these are not police out on the street. We went over this in the first live stream. These are the correctional officers inside the prison.
But in general,
I get it. Yeah, I get it. This is frustrating to the.
And do you think that Ron and I want that? You think we don't want it to be more than 15%? I dedicated my life to protecting everybody in my precinct, regardless of social status and race and any of those other demographics. I didn't give a shit about that. All I cared about is working hard to protect good people. Okay. And I can't do my job without them. Honestly, we can't function as a society if we don't have the cooperation and of the public with us, because I don't live there. I live someplace else. Okay. And those people know who are the bad people in their neighborhood, and we need them to work with us. And every time shit like this happens, those good people that are stuck in bad situations don't want to come forward and give us the information we need to make their lives better.
Yeah. It's so frustrating. It's so frustrating. So Nicole says, this is not a little incident. this is murder. That's what we said. I mean, nobody here is saying it's a little incident. DutyRon, I agree, from Diane Hubbard. All should be in trouble, even if they stood and watched. They all should be locked up. It's not trouble. They all should be in jail. They should be in jail and county jail, awaiting a trial. And if they don't go to trial, they should, plead guilty, because look at the video. I don't see how anybody could defend that. And I would be interested to hear in the future how a defense attorney would be able to defend that. Yeah, Ben says, DutyRon, what are the better way to say it other than bad apples? I just say that they are murderers. That's a better way to say it in my book. And again, bad apples, I get it. It's just a term that's just used so loosely. These were murderers, and they did it without any hesitation. And it seemed like it was just everyday standard operating procedure. And that's what made it really, really shocking to see that, because I have never seen on body cam a correctional officer murder an inmate. I have seen many police body cam footages over the course of time. That's what we're used to seeing, body cam footages from police, because they activate it every time they have an engagement with somebody. But this takes the cake. It was shocking to see it. So, Duchess, thank you for becoming a new member. Mikey J says, seeing you all in particular speak up on this gives me a little bit of faith in humanity back, because what I witnessed on that video has had it the lowest it's been in my life. Yeah. Well, thank you, Mikey J. And thank you for being here. I hope you consider subscribing to this community. Ed, I'm running out of gas. So let's say thank you to all of the live chatters, because I want to just make a point here. The live chatters in these live streams, we wouldn't be able to do this without you guys, because without your engagement and without everything that you help keep the community going here with your questions, and the replay viewers, our rewatchers, the replay viewers, the people who watch this back afterwards, I want to say a salute to you guys. I tip my cap to you. You leave messages. You say, hey, I'm here. If you are a rewatch or replay viewer, just put hashtag rewatch or replay in the comments so we know that you're watching on the replay. Heather, whatever, thank you for being a member for 28 months. And she says, truth is important. Good work. Snappy27, thank you for being a member for a month. It's probably almost 2 now. She says two thumbs up for DutyRon and Ed. Well, thank you. Mad962, thank you for becoming a new member. And Duchess, thank you so much for being a member.
The Sarge is in the house.
Yeah, she's begging to come on. But if we bring her on, it's going to be another hour.
I'm going to bed.
Yeah, so I'm not. I just saw my phone light up. All right, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe and give us a thumbs up. It's free to do that. I appreciate you guys giving us that chance and opportunity. It helps to tickle the algorithm a little bit. Nancy, we love you right back. Ed, I know you always have something to say at the ends of these things, so I want to put you full screen, and then I'll go for me.
Well, thank you all for being here and sharing this hour with us. I know you can get your true crime fix anywhere you like on the internet, but thank you, and thank you for sharing our channel with others and helping us grow to where we are today. Always, ladies and gentlemen, be safe, be prepared, and watch your six.
Amen to that, brother. I want to send strength, prayers, and positive vibes to the Brooks family and to the entire community up in Oneonta. The Onondaga County District Attorney is now charged with prosecuting this case. We forgot to mention that. So this is the gentleman, his office, the district attorney, is charged now with charging this case. So when we do hear our arrests, and hopefully we hear that soon, it's going to be coming from this office. So Oneida, yes, thank you for that. Everyone's quick to correct me. I always misspeak when it comes to these funky named the
Native American names.
Yeah, sometimes it gets me. But so much thanks to everybody for being here. And again, we send prayers and positive vibes to the victim's family. And that's what this live stream is about. It's about Robert Brooks and his murder inside Marcy Correctional Facility. So good night. Stand by for a message from the cop team. I think that's coming up, and we have it. Actually, I have got to upload it, but Kristen sent me the new and revised cop team, but I don't have it yet. So good night from Ed Wallace and DutyRon. We appreciate you being here. Thanks, guys.